someone is not actually tracing the in and out of the car and how much parking collections that they have collected, the money just goes somewhere and no one know how much is the money. And they just report a very small amount of parking income.
Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera saya ucapkan kepada para penonton di luar sana. Bertemu lagi kita di dalam siri Bual Bicara Coffee Talk, pengurusan bangunan berserata Anjuran Suruhanjaya Bangunan Kuala Lumpur, Dewan Bandaraya Kuala Lumpur. Saya Zaisatul Hairizal bin Saleh akan bertindak selaku moderator dalam siri pada kali ini. Dan pada siri ini kita akan mengupas tentang tajuk apa yang JMB ataupun MC perlu tahu berkenaan audit forensik. Dan bila berkata tentang audit ataupun audit forensik, orang yang sepatutnya ataupun layak untuk mengupas tentang audit ini adalah accountant ataupun juru audit. Dan kita sangat bertuah pada hari ini bersama-sama kita di studio, pihak Cobkl membawakan Puan Soh Eng Hoi daripada Tetuan EHSO and Partner. Salam sejahtera Puan. Terima kasih kerana sudi bersama-sama kita di studio pada kali ini. Dan untuk sebagai pengenalan, boleh Puan ceritakan sedikit tentang pengalaman Puan di dalam bidang perekonomian dan juga bidang audit.
Okey, terima kasih. Izinkan saya menjawab dalam bahasa Inggeris ya seterusnya. Okay. I am a licensed auditor under Ministry of Finance, so I'm able to actually act and sign off auditor's report. I've been actually in this industry for more than 25 years, practicing as an auditor. Yep. So what we have actually done in the course as an auditor is that we have performed statutory audit, and then we also do some advisory work or some other special work which is actually involving forensic auditing. So I guess this is what you are interested in, right? Yes.
Okey. Maknanya sudah 25 tahun Puan Soh berkecimpung di dalam bidang perekonomian dan juga bidang audit. Dan bukan hanya tertumpu pada audit JMBMC juga, Puan juga terlibat dalam audit company, syarikat-syarikat lain, ya. Dan audit forensik juga salah satu cabang daripada bidang yang Puan masuklah. Okey. Okey, sebagai kita punya untuk memulakan sesi bual bicara kita, pihak Cobkl selalu menerima banyak aduan daripada pihak pengurusan dan juga pihak pemilik di bangunan berserata yang melibatkan isu-isu berkaitan kewangan. Dan salah satu cara untuk menangani isu ini ataupun mengenal pasti punca dan juga untuk menyelesaikan isu-isu yang diadukan ni adalah semakan melalui audit forensik. Jadi bolehkah pihak Puan untuk menerangkan sedikit maksud audit forensik tersebut?
Okay. Forensic audit is also a type of audit. Yep. It's just that we actually carry out specific audit procedures on the financial records. A lot of times the main purpose of it is to actually find out any illegal financial activities in the course of our engagement itself. Yep. So that is mainly what we cover in the forensic audit. But other than that, I would like to also say here that forensic audit doesn't mean it has to be something illegal, therefore we carry out the work. I have been involved in forensic audit, which is actually not because of illegal activities, but because of some business dispute, right? Because of some shareholders actually need a forensic auditor to come in to assist them to actually settle some business, right? So we do also do that. Sometimes it's because a certain business dispute like contractors and developer actually do have dispute, we come in to actually assist in the forensic audit to come out with some solutions for the client. So that's what we do as a forensic audit.
Permulaan tadi Puan ada sebut tentang audit statutory. Dan apa perbezaan antara audit statutory dan juga audit forensik? Apa beza kedua-dua ni?
Okay, right. Statutory audit, when we say statutory, meaning that is something that need to be done according to the law, to the act, right? And then in the law, in the act itself, it doesn't really matter whether it's in Malaysia or it's in any other country, right? The law or the act will actually tell you what need to be done for the accounts, for the financial statements of the company, of the agency, of even society, even government bodies. So all those are actually guided by the law itself. So the law will tell you that what an accountant need to do when they actually audit the accounts, what type of accounting standards or auditing standards that they need to actually apply in carry out the work. And also they will tell you who you need to report to, right? So a very simple example, if I were to bring back to Malaysia situation, right? A Sendirian Berhad in Malaysia, is actually governed by Companies Act 2016. So in Companies Act itself, they will tell you that, annually, every year, you need to actually have a statutory audit done, and the statutory auditor need to actually audit your accounts for 1 year, right? And then the auditors need to actually audit in accordance with certain standards and come up with an audit opinion that whether the accounts are true and fair to the shareholders. So they make it very clear how you want to do it, who you need to report to, and what standard you need to use. So this is actually a statutory audit. So it applies to anywhere you go. When you look at statutory audit, that's where the fundamental principle is. Yeah. So when it comes to forensic audit, it's slightly different. We are still applying audit procedures. We are still using different type of audit techniques, but it may not actually cover the entire financial statements. It can just cover certain financial matters, certain transactions, or certain financial records. That's all. And a lot of time it will depend on who is the person that engaged us, and therefore we report back to the person, right? Assuming, say, COB is the one that engaged the forensic auditor, then we report back to COB. But if it's actually the GMC, right, that is actually engaging us, then that's our client. Then we report back to them, and specifically on the needs that they want.
Okey, maksudnya audit statutory ni adalah satu yang kewajipan, benda satu audit yang wajib dilakukan setahun sekali, dan audit forensik ni adalah menjurus kepada sesuatu isu. Apa isu yang perlu disiasat ataupun dikenalpasti. Jadi dia lebih spesifik. Audit statutory adalah lebih meluas untuk persembahan penyata kewangan begitulah ya. Okey, terima kasih Puan. Okey. Untuk seterusnya, apakah peranan ataupun tugas yang juru audit forensik lakukan atau bila dapat sesuatu tugasan? Jadi boleh Puan ulas sikit peranan ataupun tugas pihak juru audit.
Okay, the role of a forensic auditor, as I have said just now, because the needs of our client, a lot of times we only focus on very specific things, right? So our role is actually to analyze and to evaluate evidence that we have gathered, right, in the financial records that we are asked to look at, right? So it's actually very focus-driven, right? So if our client, be it a company or any agency that appoint us, if they ask us to look at certain documents and they want us to evaluate and analyze and evaluate that, we will actually focus on that, right? So our duty is mainly looking at to actually plan our work, right? To gather the evidence. From the evidence itself, we will actually discover what rightfully should be the activities that has been carried out within that particular scope that given to us, right? And then we will be able to identify who actually come up with that activities and what has happened in that particular activities itself. And then in a way, our duty will be to quantify how much is actually involved in that particular activities if we can actually do the quantification. A lot of time it's actually because there are financial losses, right? Be it the residents suffered the loss or the company suffered the loss or any of the parties suffered the loss and they wanted to know this amount of losses that suffered, we will be the one who actually quantifying this amount of that. Yeah. Of course, our duty, some of it is extreme to this the end, we will actually be asked probably to go in front of the court to give our so-called present our findings, our evidence to the judge.
Maknanya daripada audit report forensik tersebut boleh dibawakan sebagai satu bahan bukti sekiranya kes-kes ini dibicarakan di mahkamah.
Yes.
Besar peranan dan tanggungjawab pihak jurudit forensik.
Yes. Have to be prepared for that. Yes. Yeah.
Okey, untuk menjalankan satu audit forensik, apa langkah-langkah yang pihak jurudit ambil untuk menyelesaikan sesuatu kes atau sesuatu isu tu? Apa step-step yang jurudit lakukan?
Actually, forensic audit and statutory audit or financial audits, there's no different on that in terms of our approach, yeah, our methodology. We will still need to meet up with our client who engage us. We need to understand very well what is the concern or expectation of our client, right? What is the focus? Remember, I talked about the focus. What is the area of focus that our client want us to look at, right? So understanding the client, understanding the focus and expectation of the client, and understand the environment that creating this problem, right? Certain company may have the problem of because they may have very high staff turnover or they may have very weak controls. They may have certain top management has been there too long and things like that. So we understand this thing, we understand the expectation, we come back, we need to plan out our audit work itself, right? How do we want to approach this? Because if assuming you have a situation that there's totally no books and records, you cannot say, I want to go and check the books. So you need to actually plan back as such that, they have already told you, I lost all the records, or the records are all being taken away or being shredded. Then how you want to approach it. So we need to plan out properly what is the steps that we want to do in order not to waste the time, right? Then after that, we will go into the other stage, which is we will gather evidence. So based on that, we will need to gather the evidence of either documentary evidence, which you can actually pull from the records, not just the records in the building. You can actually go out to somewhere to get the evidence. We can go to the bank to get the evidence. You can interview the shareholders. You can interview the management. You can interview the accountants. So those are also the evidence that we are actually getting from that. Yeah. So from all this evidence, verbal and written, then we will come back after gathering to evaluate, to analyze the evidence, to look at it, what has gone wrong, where has it been, is there any really illegal activities or fraudulent activities from there, then we will put this whole thing in our report. Then we will present to our client. Yep. So that's basically the steps that we would do.
Puan cakap tadi, selalu isu yang dikatakan dokumen hilang ataupun dokumen tak dapat dijumpai.
Yes, yes.
Kalau dalam keadaan situasi begitu, apakah step untuk bukti mendapatkan dokumen-dokumen ni? Salah satu puan kata tadi pergi kepada bank kan.
Yeah, it all depends on what is the situation given to us, right? Sometimes when the situation is when we go into the office, our client tell us that they don't have any accounting records. Records are all actually being either taken away or kept by somebody who does not actually have access by them, right? So the first approach that we always try to do is that to go to the person that they know that they have the records, and then we will get from them. Yeah, normally not us, we don't have the power. So normally the client will actually write to them to ask for the documents. And if it's seriously not that case, the client sometimes use their lawyer to actually write to the other party, say that we understand you have done the accounts for this year of this company from this year to this year. Can you actually give us the data or whatever, right? If it involves some fees, we pay for that, no choice. Yeah. So that is the thing. Sometimes even you have these records, but those are just accounting, general ledger or whatever, but you don't have the supporting documents, right? So what you can do is that a lot of time, the concern is always cash, money, bank, right? So what we can do is that based on this, we actually go to the bank to ask for the bank details. Either you get the bank statements if you don't have the bank statements, or you can even request for check images. Yeah, but that actually costs a lot because every check, the bank actually charge a lot. Yes, they charge. So this is, we always say that we will, unless we exhaust every way, every means of getting evidence, then we will go to this lah.
Wah, boleh disimpulkan sukar jugalah untuk pihak juruaudit untuk melengkapkan sesuatu kerja ataupun sesuatu siasatan laporan audit forensik. Okey, tentu tuan-tuan dan puan-puan di luar sana yang terlibat dalam JMB dan juga MC tertanya-tanya dalam keadaan apakah suatu audit forensik perlu dilakukan. Macam mana bila situasi apakah yang JMB MC hadapi dan masa itu perlukan audit forensik. Apakah situasi yang contoh-contoh kalau puan boleh berikan sedikit contoh ataupun isu-isu yang terlibat selalu di dalam JMB MC?
I think it have to be very clear is JMB and MC, you will have your statutory audit, right? So that is every year you need to have an audit done. So as a resident of the properties or the rest of the area itself, you need to receive your audit report every year. Yes. So every year, audit reports will need to be actually received and tabled in the AGM for all the residents to look at it in detail and to question in the AGM itself, right? So a lot of situations that I've seen is statutory audit, annual audit has not been done for a few years. In the AGM, every time AGM will say that, oh, audit has not been done yet because accounts are not ready, documents not ready, so they delay and delay. So if that is the case, I think as a resident, we as a resident, we need to be very alert of the situation already. So we should actually raise this question to the committee to see that is it something wrong, or is committee that's actually doing something not right already, right? Then request for a detailed audit to be done, or request, frankly speaking, I would say that it's very important to request for the statutory auditor to be there to actually allow you to ask questions. If the statutory auditor is not there, and then you find that something is not right already, as a resident, you have the right to actually, in the AGM, request for a forensic audit to be done if you have suspected something not right. Yeah. A lot of times, why no one wants forensic audit, right? No one wants forensic audit unless because something is really not right. You feel that you already know something is not there already. You feel that, hey, how come audit cannot be done for so many years? How come the trade receivables, collections of management fees, sinking fund is outstanding for so long? The amount is so big, but no one question why is it not collected, right? Why are some of the expenses so high? And why is that JMB or MC is actually running at a loss and all these things? So all these things should actually trigger some form of question, and then it will lead to normally a forensic.
Audit statutory tu mesti dijalankan setiap tahun. Bila ada 2 tahun, 3 tahun audit statutory ni tak buat, mana ini ada macam lebih perlukan siasatan lanjut lah. Bila berkata tentang forensik selalu melibatkan fraud, contohnya, boleh puan bagi contoh sedikit, apakah contoh-contoh fraud yang sering terjadi di dalam pengurusan kewangan yang melibatkan JMB dan MC ni?
I have seen the very recent case that I'm actually working on. I've seen one case that They claim that this is actually the management company that managed on behalf of the GMB, the entire operations. But when we actually ask in detail whether this is the licensed building manager and whether they have any agreement with them and all those things, then we found out that there's nothing at all. That's not even a licensed building manager to operate the whole area. And they do not even have a proper agreement entered into with this particular company to run the operation itself, right? And very, I will not say funny, it triggered us also because they actually charge a very fixed amount of expenses every month to GMB, and then GMB paid them a fixed amount of cleaning expenses, office cleaning expenses are not the entire common area, of 3,000 a month.
Just for office?
Just for office. And the office is so small. The office is only less than 1,000 square feet. I mean, how big is the office can be, right? A management office. And they charge 3,000 a month fixed cleaning expenses.
Dibayar oleh JMB setiap bulan.
And bayar. And no agreement, nothing at all. So these type of things, you will think that something is not right already. Why are you paying that, right? Yeah, so that's one thing. Second thing is also it trigger a lot of time coming from income. The building actually have common parking. Parking, we collect parking money, right? So the thing is that sometimes the parking money, if you don't have a proper system, it's not e-wallet, touch and go and all these things, then you have cash. Then where has the cash gone to, right? So if someone is not actually tracing the in and out of the car and how much parking collections that they have collected, the money just goes somewhere and no one know how much is the money. And they just report a very small amount of parking income.
Okey, Puan telah menerangkan contoh-contoh fraud yang terjadi dalam pengurusan kewangan JMB-MC. Dan fraud ni selalu dikait dengan fraud triangle. Sering dikatakan sebagai punca sesuatu fraud itu. Dan apa yang sebenarnya dimaksudkan fraud triangle ni? Boleh Puan ulas sedikit tentang fraud triangle?
Fraud triangle is something very theoretical, actually. Fraud triangle, this model is actually published by an American criminologist, right? This guy by the name of Donald Cressy, yes, in the 1970s, yeah. So he come up with this particular model to say that why people actually commit fraud. Okay, why penipuan all happen in our business world or our working world especially. 3 reasons of that. One of the reason is actually pressure, okay? Pressure that actually causing a fraud activities to take place. What do we mean by pressure is sometimes we talk about financial pressure. Okay, financial pressure. The other one is talking about emotionally pressure. So simple when we talk about it, financial pressure. It comes from probably someone in the family is actually very sick, right? And then the staff need money to actually pay for the hospital bills. So that pressure causing this push for a person to actually commit a fraud activities, right? Sometimes the other way, I think financial pressure we can think about a lot because you want a better lifestyle, your family is making a lot of complaints that why we are not this, why we are not that, and I want this, I want that, right? I want a car, I want this, or you have kids that you want to go to school, then you want to pay for school fees and everything. So all this will create a lot of pressure. So because of this, it actually push you for that. When we talk about emotionally pressure, a lot of time it comes from peers. My colleague actually have this watch. He'll say, hey, why you wear this type of watch? So you know, that type of emotion pressure, it also causes you to do something that is not right. Yep. So a lot of time it comes from pressure. So that causes the thing. Other than pressure, the other one that I would say, this is the one that always causing even more fraud activities is opportunity. That's the second reason for that, opportunity. Why? Because the entire environment and system is actually not strong. your internal control is weak. You don't have right policies and procedures in place, right? No bosses take care of it, right? So that's opportunity. So I am a person that I don't have all this pressure, I don't have all these things, but because there's an opportunity, the door is open, I can just walk in. I don't even need to ask for permission. I go and take things. So that is the opportunity that most of the people take this as more of the fraud activities, because you become a situation that you encourage people to commit more fraud, right? That's the whole thing. Of course, the other reason under this particular model is called rationalization. What is rationalization? Is more of simple thing. I'm saying that I have done these things already, but it's a wrong thing. Then I go and tell myself, actually, this thing is not wrong. It's okay one for me to do this. So you persuade yourself that you're not doing the wrong thing. It's okay for you to do this. So assuming like the situation of fraud, a lot of time we see that is probably I need some money, right? I need some money temporarily because I wanted to go and do something, and then I will take the money back and put it back here. So the rationale is that, hey, I'm just taking temporarily, 1-2 days lah, I go and do these things first, then after that I earn the money already, then I put it back. So nothing wrong, right, for this. Or everyone is doing it, nothing wrong with that, I can also do it. So that's the whole thing about that. So this particular model, we always use it to try to analyze a situation in a forensic audit to see that this thing has happened, why these things happen, which part of the tree that is actually causing this to happen. It helps us in a way because then you will zoom it down to who actually has made this transaction. Especially we don't know. Every time when we come in, we don't know who has actually done these activities. We suspected this person, we suspected that person, but we need to look at all this and see that likelihood, who is the one that really done this transaction.
Maknanya dia melibatkan 3 perkara. Pressure, tekanan,
yes,
opportunity ataupun peluang. Opportunity, peluang ni boleh datang dengan disebabkan oleh kurangnya internal control.
Yes.
Salah satu punca internal control kurang.
Yes.
Dan last, rationalization. Maknanya dia membetulkan, dia memujuk diri, merasakan perkara itu betul. Walaupun sebenarnya perkara itu adalah satu perkara yang salah. Inilah sedikit 3 punca yang menyebabkan fraud terjadi di dalam suatu organisasi. Berdasarkan pengalaman Puan melaksanakan kerja-kerja audit forensik, apakah kekurangan ataupun kesilapan yang dikesan dalam aktiviti kawalan ataupun internal control dan pemantauan oleh pihak pengurusan JMBMC yang menyebabkan terjadinya fraud ni?
I think as I have mentioned just now, using the 3 elements in the fraud triangle, in GMB MC, a lot of time is because of opportunities. Yes, it's because of opportunities. Opportunities because in every organization, not just MC, GMB, Sendirian Berhad, any companies, we talk about you need to have a proper controls, internal controls in place, right? Internal controls in place, we are talking about two parts of the control. One is you need to put in a set of procedures, right? The control procedures to be in place. The other thing is that you need to put in a monitoring process to be in place. So this control has to run according to the process, and this one will have to monitor that this is run properly. So that is the whole system that should actually exist in every company, not just in GMBMC, right? So when you come to this, a lot of time we see from the forensic audit itself is that a lot of GMBMC does not have policies and procedures, no SOP, right? Yeah. So sometimes when we go in, we ask for, hey, can you give me a copy of the SOP? Then we can use the SOP as a start for our audit to see whether everything is actually follow or someone don't follow. They say, oh, we don't have SOP. Or SOP tu dah 10 years 15 years, right? No one update the SOP, and then it's just put one corner lah. No one actually look at that one. So every new committee come up, they do their own thing, their style. Different people, different style. So you have this problem. You don't have a proper policies and procedures in place, then you will not be able to monitor. So policies and procedures, as I always tell my client, that they really need to set the things. Not asking you to set up something like a Sendirian Berhad, a manufacturing company or whatever, but simple thing as in who should handle the collections, who should actually do the recording, who should actually do the banking, right? All these things will actually need to be done properly. And who is the check signatory? And how many check signatories by category or whatever. And one issue that I noted a lot of time in my work is after one AGM, new committee change, treasurer change, and these things, right? It does not actually change the signature on time. So say that after AGM, new committee come up, half a year later, the signature is still not changed, you know. So a lot of times you will come back to the old person to sign the things. Then we talk about accountability. Accountability will be affected because the person will say that, hey, I'm not the one who approved it. Someone approved, but I'm just happen to be the check signatory, so I sign. So you cannot say I'm wrong because I'm not approving this. Then the problem is that there's no proper documentation, there's no proper payment approval, assuming say payment voucher, who prepare, who approve, right, and all these things. Tak ada. So these are all the whole thing that you make the fraud opportunities to come in because people don't really know about that. And then the JMB, the MC, the committee, if you don't monitor every meeting or get your external auditor to look at some of the areas that you think high risk of fraud and all this thing, then the whole thing will be very, very subject to how would I say? People will be very happy lah, the people who wanted to do fraud because opportunities are so much there.
Monitoring pun tak ada.
Yeah, so no one actually bothered. Yeah, no one question. Yeah, so that's the whole thing.
Yeah, sebab ada juga kita pun dapat tahu jugalah ada setengah kawasan orang yang menerima, orang yang buat rekod transaction dan orang yang bank in kan duit ke bank adalah orang yang sama. Dan ini akan membuka peluang seluas-luasnya kepada individu tersebut untuk melakukan fraud. Okey, bila audit forensik selalu dikaitkan dengan kos. Okey. Memang daripada penerangan puan sebelum ni, memang kerja-kerja yang dilakukan oleh audit forensik dia berbeza sedikit dengan audit statutory. Boleh anggaran kos tu berapa lebih kurang kalau sesuatu ketugasan itu diberikan kepada jurudit? Boleh puan ceritakan sedikit tentang kos yang melibatkan audit forensik?
Okay, this is a very tricky question. I don't want to say something wrong, then all my fellow accountants out there will scold me. Okay, I think put it this way lah. The difference of statutory audit with forensic audit is because statutory audit is very structured. We actually have a set of standards that we follow, and we have a set of checklists that we know what to do very clearly. And we are all accountant, be it you are actually a fresh graduates, we are all trained as such that you know how to do all these things. So it's all very well guided. So that can be done in a more structured manner and a more, how would I put it, that smooth in that way. But for forensic audit, as I said just now, it's very much focus driven. So different client will tell you different focus that they want. So based on different focus, we need to actually draw out the whole procedures, a different separate sets of audit procedures, right, in order to meet the expectation of the client itself. And we need to look at the documents, which most of the time the documents that we look at are so much more compared to statutory audit. Statutory audit, for those who are familiar with that, you know that we don't really do 100%. We only do sampling, right? We go on materiality. But in terms of forensic audit, sometimes or most of the time without fail, client will tell you that they wanted 100%, or they want to go ask you to go down to even anything that more than 100 ringgit. I have a client that say, oh, anything more than 100 ringgit. I say, hello, 100 ringgit is a lot, you know. Yeah, but I say, no, it's okay. They wanted that. Yeah. So this is the thing. So when you have such a small amount, also we need to verify. That actually take a lot of time. And the other thing is that we will not use audit junior to actually do forensic audit work. Forensic audit is only run by very experienced auditors, senior auditors to do that, because you need to be someone who is very familiar with audit procedures. You need to be someone who is very familiar with the business process. Like in the case of JMB and all this thing, you need to understand very well how this whole thing runs. Then only you are able to actually take up this job. So that's why, because of all these factors, forensic audit is definitely more expensive than statutory audit. That is for sure. That one I can tell you is 100% sure. So if you are paying your statutory audit work, say 10,000, a lot of time you will expect that your forensic audit work is definitely more than 10,000. Yeah, it depends on the scope. And then it depends on the year. The problem is that a lot of time forensic audit come to us is not 1 year. So 1 year you pay statutory auditor 10,000, but because you ask us to look at 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? That day a client asked me to look at 10 years. I said, no, go, let's do one by one. You know, I also don't want you feel so much, you know, suddenly, right? And I know, I mean, forensic fee comes from the funds also. I mean, everyone knows that the funds is very precious that they need to use for building maintenance and all these things. So that is the problem. I would not say the problem. That's why forensic audit cost is actually higher. Yeah. So if you look at it, we sometimes you look at the range, it can actually go up to 20,000-30,000 per month. It depends on how big is the entire work that we are doing. Yeah.
Sememangnya ianya lebih melibatkan effort ataupun lebih usaha daripada jurudit, dan itulah sebabnya antara kos untuk audit forensik ini lebih mahal daripada audit statutory. Sebagai soalan terakhir lah Puan, masa telah mencemburui kita. Right. Apakah nasihat yang boleh Puan berikan kepada pihak JMB-MC bagi mengelakkan sesuatu penipuan ataupun penyelewengan, dan pengurusan kewangan ini dilakukan dengan lebih berintegriti?
I have mentioned since the start until now, the problem starts with there's lack of control. There's lack of monitoring, right? So my advice to GMB, MC, to whoever that's actually involved in the financial operations of the organization, have to make sure that we actually put in place proper control activities. A very simple one, like what you have mentioned just now, the person who collect the money should not be the person who actually record the money, right? And the person who, if possible, the person who bank in the money should also be different, right? With the technology that we are having now, we should actually encourage mostly e-wallet, online banking and all these things, so that you avoid all this type of segregation of duties issues, because I know cost is a concern. So everyone is trying to save costs and then gets one person to do everything. But that creates the problem, right? And then the other thing is that from MCGMB perspective, the monitoring need to be there. Every monthly EXCO meeting or whatever, financial matters need to be actually discussed properly. And some of the so-called peculiar transactions that's actually happening in the bank, it should be questioned and make sure it's actually clear. And follow up, I don't see follow up properly a lot of time in the meetings itself. So once this thing is actually resolved, you don't really need to come to the stage of having forensic auditor actually. Yeah, though means I don't have jobs to do lah, but that's definitely a better situation compared to others. Yep.
Jadi kesimpulan yang kita boleh kata, kontrol dan juga monitoring, pemantauan mestilah ada di dalam sesuatu organisasi untuk menjamin penyelewengan ni sukarlah nak dilakukan. Okey. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, kita telah sampai ke akhir rancangan. Dan terima kasih saya ucapkan kepada panel kita pada hari ini, Puan So Eng Hoi, atas perkongsian tajuk yang kita bincangkan pada hari ini. Terima kasih Puan dan sekian. Terima kasih.